As the young man strolled along the street, he impulsively seized a newborn puppy from its mother and began tending to it. In a matter of moments, an extraordinary event occurred, profoundly altering the lives of both the man and the puppy. Avoiding menacing stray dogs is a natural instinct. Tom experienced this while exploring downtown Toronto on a chilly day. Taking a break from work, he wandered the city, still new to urban life after coming from a countryside town. The city's vibrancy excited him, but he wasn't accustomed to the urban mess caused by a fast-paced life and disregard for the environment due to the high population. Street litter attracted pests like rats, and occasionally stray cats and dogs. Although the city tried to shelter these strays successfully, some managed to outsmart animal control. Tom was well aware of the stray animals that frequented those streets. Despite his affection for animals, he was unwilling to jeopardize his health by getting involved with sick creatures. Or so he thought. That particular day, braving the cold, he chose to explore the neighborhood. He was excited about the day's prospects, unaware of how true that sentiment would become. With plans to meet a friend for coffee later, he had several hours to spare. Beginning by taking a train to Toronto Central, he then ventured toward the outskirts. The day unfolded pleasantly, leading him to a charming boutique selling handmade knitwear, where he even snagged a discounted cardigan. As he continued up the street from the shop, an unexpected scene unfolded before him. The street itself was a flurry of activity, with cars zipping along, a popular route flanked by towering skyscrapers. As Tom looked up the street, he saw some trash cans on the left-hand side. Just behind that, he saw something that resembled an animal. At first, he wasn't quite sure what it was, but as he came tentatively closer, he managed to make out the shape curled up awkwardly on the sidewalk next to the bins was a large, shaggy dog. Tom immediately felt a bit anxious. There were a few people around him, but none of them seemed to care too much about the dog. Was it just him? He couldn't help but notice how big the dog was. He hoped that if he could sidle past it quietly, it would leave him alone. Hopefully, it wouldn't feel threatened in any way. He walked with purpose, aiming to get past the dog quickly. As he walked through, he never took his eyes off the animal. He knew that things could change in an instant. As he got closer, he could see the dog had begun to notice him. At first, her hackles went up, and she bared her grimy teeth at Tom. Keeping his wits about him, he walked with determination, trying not to show his fear. But as he got closer, she seemed to relax a little more. This took Tom by surprise, and he noticed that she had positioned herself in that awkward way on purpose. All of a sudden, he spotted blood and thought she was severely injured. Instead, he noticed she was shielding something very important from the street. She had just given birth to a litter of puppies. Intrigued that she had happened to have her puppies so close to the street, Tom couldn't help but edge a little closer to see them. It was then that he noticed something extremely disturbing. Without a second of hesitation, he quickly made his way over to the dog, bent down, and grabbed a puppy. The mother dog reacted quickly, but it was a weak defense as she was clearly malnourished and dehydrated. She simply looked at Tom holding one of her puppies with pleading eyes. Tom went to work straight away, rubbing the back of the dog vigorously. What he had seen was, in fact, a lifeless puppy. It had been discarded to the side of the litter and was lying motionless when he first spotted it. This is why he had grabbed it. He was trying to help. He rubbed and rubbed the puppy until suddenly it came back to life with a squeaky sound, and Tom erupted in cheers. It was a miracle. In his rush of adrenaline, he hadn't even considered the danger he had put himself in. Now realizing that the dog was at his feet and he was holding her puppy, he started to grow concerned, but it was then that he saw the mother dog up close for the first time. What he saw simply tore at his heart. It was clear that this poor dog and her little family were in dire need of some attention. Discarding all plans he had for the rest of the day, Tom called animal control and sat on the sidewalk with the sweet dog. He even draped his brand new cardigan over the mother and her puppies in an effort to keep her warm. When animal control arrived, they were quite surprised at what they found. It wasn't every day that they were called by a good Samaritan who happened to revive a puppy. The only problem was the mother's attitude. She had sensed animal control and begun to get super defensive. She got up with her last bits of strength and began to growl and run up and down the road. The volunteers had to struggle to get control of her. It took almost an hour before they were able to capture her. Eventually, the new little family and their savior got into the van and were whisked away to a shelter. Tom remained steadfastly by the puppies and dog's side throughout. Upon their arrival at the shelter, the veterinarians strived to provide them with the best care possible. Tom's assessment had been accurate. The mother dog's condition was dire, yet there was a glimmer of hope for her improvement. Regrettably, the same optimism couldn't be extended to the little puppy he had rescued. This news tugged painfully at Tom's heartstrings. While the vets assured him they would make every effort to assist the puppy, they cautioned against setting expectations too high. Heading home with a sense of discouragement, Tom couldn't shake thoughts of the tiny puppy from his mind. He held on to hope and offered prayers for its recovery, all while reflecting on the remarkable timing that had brought them together. Tom couldn't ignore the feeling that this encounter was somehow destined. Following 3 agonizingly protracted days, Tom mustered the courage to call the shelter and inquire about the well-being of the dog and her puppies. Preparing for the worst, he steeled himself for any news that might come his way. Initially, his heart sank as the woman on the other end of the phone seemed unaware of his inquiry. However, she transferred the call to someone else who provided him with as much information as they could. Tom's anticipation was almost unbearable as he waited to learn about the condition of the endearing animals. When he finally received the news, tears welled up in his eyes. The tireless medical efforts had managed to save the little puppy's life. Tom had succeeded in resuscitating him just in the nick of time to prevent lasting harm from oxygen deprivation. The veterinarians were confident in the puppy's promising recovery, and merely 2 months later, Tom found himself at the shelter, penning his signature on the adoption paperwork for the charming puppy, now named Oreo. Over the weeks, he had been a regular visitor to the shelter, offering his time as a volunteer wherever he could assist. This involvement naturally led to his swift approval for adoption. The mother dog, aptly named Cookie, bore this title as her puppies were all given names of various cookies, in keeping with the theme, much like Oreo. Such an awe-inspiring tale of impeccable timing, courage, and instinct. Would you have possessed the bravery to confront the mother dog? And would you have taken the step to rescue the puppy? Do you think you'd have had the know-how to accomplish it? Additionally, what are your thoughts on animal shelters and the commendable work they undertake? Feel free to share your insights in the comments section. We appreciate your input. Thank you.